Good morning. How are you? Well, we're in the 40s again, so we're approaching a serious winter, even if it's whatever, about a month off. The the sun is nice, and it'll be it's not windy, so that's pretty terrific. I've been trying to figure out what is the overall template to understand what's happening in politics. I'm not alone. I'm sure everybody does it formally and informally, and the model is pretty clear. I think that the Republicans are very comfortable being white supremacists and discriminatory and bigots because at the most basic level, they believe they can't get the black vote, so they have to suppress it, and they do it every way they can, including what the children today are going to learn about it, scaring parents who may be bigots themselves into fighting against information that their children would have in school about, oh, name it, slavery, the Civil Rights Act, 60s riots, and unbelievably thinking that the children are not living in the here and now and see what's happening in courtrooms like Arbery and sees what happens with George Floyd. So it's like there's this theory about we have to isolate people into our little bubble and tell them things as Stalin might do to make the dialogue bereft of the words that describe what's going on. Racism, all the kinds of Jim Crow laws, things like that. Eliminate that from the discussion, and if people don't know those words, then they can't discuss it. So where are the Democrats on this? Well, the Democrats are in a somewhat different position because they know some of their voters will only go so far about ameliorating, confronting, adjusting, removing racism, because they have fears as well, because they hear the stuff that's said. And they wonder, is it true? And politics is a messy business. So America, it seems to me, is divided into two parts among the Democrats and Republicans, and the independents in the middle there, but less of a swing vote than was once the case, because we are so polarized. And the polarization goes like this. There's white grievance. How dare you suggest that America is racist? Well, it is. And there are gradations of it, and there's a spectrum of racism. And it's gotten worse since we had the open-mouthed screams of Trump and his followers that made it, if not legitimate, acceptable to say out loud what people were whispering or sending signals before. Now, what are the Democrats doing? Well, they're obviously better about it. They're not bigots. But there's a process of white appeasement that's, in fact, being discussed in the papers today. White appeasement meaning we'll go so far and then no further. We'll do something, but not everything. And how is that working for us? I think in recent days, Biden's drop in popularity has come as a result of him actually fighting. I don't mean he wasn't fighting before, but he's now become stronger in his own convictions at the risk of the strength of his popularity in the polls. So, for example, the fight on the House side, he decided he was going to get one bill, come what may, and demand that everybody agree that they would support the second bill. And I think on some level in his mind, he knows that's questionable and difficult to achieve. But he's decided a bird in the hand is worth two or three in the bush. The other thing that strikes me is that Biden had an attorney general who hadn't done anything with the Bannon prosecution, if you will, for 22 days. Now, if you read the paper, which is nicely written, the indictment against Bannon, you can see that you could write it in 20 minutes. You could write a more efficient version in 20 minutes. If you wanted to write the version they have, I'll give you 2-3 hours maybe, but not 22 days, no matter how fast or brief a writer you may be. And I think at some point along the way, Biden became convinced that he had to let the dogs of war released, because this had reached an incredible point in which the former president was now center stage, claiming he wanted his papers that concealed his role in a coup in America, overturning an election he lost badly. And so he found the pathway among the laws that basically said things like executive privilege run to the president who is in the White House presently serving, and said he asserted no executive privilege. But the rest of the arguments about this are that there's no executive privilege, no privilege to conceal a crime, to violate your oath of office and try to overthrow the government. So I say that Biden is turning a corner here, and I'm hoping that he continues on pace. Now, of course, every administration, Republican, Democrat, or anything else, is going to have a mix of people who take different positions. Some will be concerned about the reduced bank he has for support for his policies. Every president needs it. Others will say you have time to build it up again, and we have to strike while the iron is hot. That is, while we have an opportunity to make a difference. So, what will the next step be? If Biden stays the course, then our AG may appoint a special prosecutor or designate the U.S. Attorney in the District of Columbia to investigate this mess. That would be significant and important. And other lawyers, professors, people with the kind of experience that I have or better are saying the same thing. We have to be on record. We have to have a reckoning if our law and constitution are going to mean anything. Similarly, we have to deal with domestic policy. And finally, and this is the one that's very difficult, because it's not up to Biden alone, we have to end the cloture bill. That's war. That is war. If you do those three things, Biden is asserting his power as president at the risk of his support popularly in the polls. But he's doing the right thing, in my opinion. So, on this chilly Sunday in my cathedral of trees, I commend the apparent performance of Biden to back off white appeasement and go forward with some aggression about the future of America to restore the republic. And on my podcast, I'll probably extend these remarks. I haven't written it or thought about it or said it yet. So I'll do that later today. All the best. Bye-bye.